In today's world, people feel lost in a sea of ideas. Which ones should we accept? Stay tuned because you're listening to Veracity Hill, striving for truth on faith, politics, and society. Here is your host, Kurt Jaros.
Well, a good day to you, and thanks for joining us here for another episode of Veracity Hill, where we are striving for truth on faith, politics, and society. Well, it is the end of 2019, and my, oh my, what a year it has been for us here. In this program today, I want to give you an update on the Ministry of Defenders Media and talk about some of my favorite episodes on Veracity Hill. But this will only be for a short while, and then I imagine for most of our program today, we're going to be talking about the Rise of Skywalker film, which just came out, the end of the Skywalker saga, that is Star Wars. And so Chris, myself, Mark, we'll be talking about that. So this is your first major spoiler warning, okay? We're going to be talking very openly about the film, so just know that that is coming up. But first here, I wanted to give an update on Defenders Media and Veracity Hill about the year that we have had. So this year has been our best year at Defenders Media. This is year number 4 that we are now finishing, and we increased our multimedia specialist hours from a simple 10 to 25 hours a week. We hired on a part-time administrative assistant, and we couldn't have done that without the support of generous donors, but also the acquisition of new recurring monthly clients at Defenders Media. Some people have seen the name. They've kind of wondered, hey, what is it that you do? Well, Defenders Media provides media solutions for apologetic ministries. And so we offer these media services to these clients, sort of a traditional business. But there's also not a lot of money in the apologetics world, so that's why there's a need for fundraising, which is also why I do the fundraising for Veracity Hill. So we can pay guys like Chris to do his fine work on the tech stuff, which we've got a camera on Chris today, and you can see some of our VR50 there that he uses for the program. So if you've been interested to see sort of what his workflow is, you'll see a little bit of that. So we've had a very good year, which is such a blessing. Why is that? Well, this year I've also completed my doctoral dissertation work. And so I'm defending in January. And so I don't know what is in store in the future for me, whether I'll land a tenure-track position teaching theology, whether I'll get a position at another nonprofit which is geared towards Christian worldview formation, such as a Christian study center, or maybe another apologetics ministry, a more traditional one. I'm not sure. If nothing happens, it's a lot of fun doing what I'm doing here at Defenders Media, and so we'll just continue growing the organization, and I'd love to pass off the sort of day-to-day operations so I can focus on building out my speaking, teaching, writing, debating ministry over the next few years. So I'm not sure what's in store, but in the meantime, I just, keep plowing ahead, and so our goal for the end of next year, I'm already setting this up, so we're starting now. The goal is to raise, financially, to raise $2,500 in new monthly support. So that's quite a bit of money in new support, but we're starting now. We'd love to get your support on a monthly basis to help us meet our goal by the end of next year. If you feel like you've benefited from the work that Defenders does, broadly speaking, you know that we work with Mike Lacona, we work with Elizabeth Urbanowitz, we run Apologetics 315, we do all sorts of stuff. Please consider donating to Defenders Media. If you love Veracity Hill in particular, please consider becoming one of our monthly patrons. This program would never have gotten started without the support of people like yourself, and it continues to grow in what we're able to offer because of people like you. So this year we started doing a couple short videos. I'd love to do more of that if we could designate that time. But we can only do that if we get your recurring support for the program. You can go to veracityhill.com, click on the donate button, and begin your support today. Also, please consider giving us a review on iTunes, Google Play Store. Subscribe on our Facebook, on our YouTube channel. You can also follow on Facebook if you don't formally like, I should say, the program, but you can just follow us as well. And please give us a review on our Facebook page. That's been our main way putting out the show on a live stream is through Facebook. But over this past year, another goal that we have had is to upload all of the old programs that we've done, 180 some now, to YouTube. And that meant editing the earliest episodes, which were just audio. That took quite a while, but eventually we caught up and got it to where we were doing a full video production, and it became easier to upload. But it still upload to YouTube, but it still took time to do that. And so we are basically just at the point now where we will begin multi-streaming to different platforms. The holiday season here is kind of busy for us, and then we're traveling to New Orleans for Defend 2020, which should be a lot of fun. When we get back, we're going to begin our attempt at the multi-streaming on a regular basis to Facebook and YouTube, and maybe some other platforms we'll explore. I'll chat with Chris on that. All right, so we've had a lot going on. One of the highlights of my year was the Defenders conference on gospel differences, where we invited Mike Lacona, Craig Keener, Rob Bowman, and Bart Ehrman. And I want to share with you something that Bart Ehrman said about our event. He spoke very kindly about my coordinating efforts and my intention to have his view represented at the event. But here's what he said. He blogged the day after in October. He said, "What I was most interested in was how Christian apologetics, the intellectual defense of the claims of the faith, has changed in the many years since I was involved in the movement, shifted in ways I never would have imagined, very much away from our old fundamentalist assumptions and assertions into a far more reasonable and intellectually sustainable form of discourse that requires actual research and knowledge rather than hardcore theological assertion based on completely dubious premises." Now, I'm not going to dispute Ehrman's claims there about the older form, but that Ehrman recognizes there is another way, which is far more reasonable and intellectually sustainable form there. And I think what that is so important is because for people who follow him, for his audience, they might now know, hey, it's not as crazy as I thought it was. There are other options to consider. And I really wonder if Bart had been made aware of this other way of doing it before he had left the faith. I wonder what might have been different about his journey. All right, so just going through here some of these updates. I posted an article at veracityhill.com. If you click on the blog and click news, you can see this article here. Also, on a personal update, Michaela and I completed a house rehabilitation project, and we moved our family in late May, and that kept me very busy from 2018 into 2019. So I'd been doing a lot, as you might imagine. I'm kind of just a go-getter of sorts, and so it kind of feels nice the past few weeks, especially finishing the dissertation work, to just kind of calm down a little bit, have a normal weekend, a normal evening at home. It's nice to not be able to have to get some work done at night before I go to bed. So, yes, all right, so the dissertation's done, but I need to defend it in January, and so I'm hoping to devote more episodes of Veracity Hill and talking more about my research, and I'd love to get into some debates. That should be a lot of fun. And so, again, here, I'm not sure where my career path may lead. Maybe it's doing Veracity Hill for a very long time. That would be a lot of fun. I enjoy having the conversations that I've had. And this year, we've had some really fun conversations. Looking back, we started, the very first episode of the year was with Ken Wolgemuth on the Grand Canyon, the ancient Grand Canyon. And then we did this series called Explore God, which happened throughout Chicagoland, different churches giving sermons on apologetic topics, which was very fun. Then we looked at all sorts of shows. We had Nick Bird. He's a recurring guest on the program, where we talked about the natalism debate, whether or not there's value in having kids. We've interviewed a couple of missionaries this year. We looked at the hiddenness of God with Michael Ray. We had an episode on Avengers Endgame, so we talked about that. We had major spoilers there, as we do on today's program. We looked at archaeological discoveries that from the Bible with Ted Wright here in studio. A fun episode with Winfield Bevins on liturgy. We've had, and that's just half the year, and we've had a lot of fun looking at Science and Religion, Pascal's Wager, Gospel Allegiance with Matthew Bates. This year has been full of fun interviews that I hope have been a blessing to you. You know, I mainly do the program for folks with little to no formal theological education, and I hope that this can the program raises awareness of different issues maybe they should be considering or thinking about in their Christian walk. So it's geared primarily toward Christian audiences, but at the same time, I know I have some non-Christians that also listen to the program, and they enjoy how I present the topics, especially if I'm presenting an alternative view, maybe one that it comes from their position. So I know that they appreciate the quality with which we uphold ourselves here at Veracity Hill, and so it's really been fun to do these interviews, and I look forward to what 2020 has in store. Now, some people say, "Oh, it's a new decade." Well, technically, it's not a new decade. Mark lifted his head up. He's like, "Huh?" So here's the situation. There was no year zero back when it went from BC to AD. It went straight to year one. So technically, the new decade begins in 2021. But a lot of us just think in terms of tens. And so we think, hey, it's a new decade. Mark is really perplexed about this. Think about it. Year 1 AD, or year 1 BC, the next year is 1 AD, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's the end. 2020 is actually the end of this decade. Mark has this really perplexed look. All right, so 2020 is going to be we've already got some great interviews lined up in January, already going into February. Mark's been a great help at scheduling guests for our program, and he is the position for Veracity Hill that he holds is communications associate, I believe, and he's helped with that material. He's also the one that's posting on Facebook about our episodes and whatnot, so great work there. I do want to say this. We also, a fun segment on the show that we started, it's called What's Behind Kurt. It's new because we've got this green screen behind me. And so it's been fun. And just a couple weeks ago, I guessed correctly for the first time. That was a lot of fun. Luke had submitted that one. He tried to play a trick on me, and it was the Veracity Hill banner or image behind me. So if you want to participate in that, you can send the image and description to Chris at defendersmedia.com, and we will get that up in our schedule for that segment of the show. All right. Well, I've been rambling on for some 12 minutes already. So that's sort of an update on Defenders Media and Veracity Hill as well. Again, we would love to get your support for our programming. Defenders Media is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so your donations are tax deductible. And we would not be here, we would not be doing what we're doing without the support of generous donors like yourself. If you support Christian worldview formation, please consider supporting our ministry work. We have an expansive, growing audience, and we provide quality content. It's nothing cheapskate. We're not at least all that much polemical, but we try to have winsome persuasion as part of our approach to Christian theology and apologetics and related issues that flow from that. Okay, so enough of the update, and now it's time for, yes, the music from John Williams. All right, what a prolific composer John Williams has been for the Star Wars saga.
Indeed.
I am very pleased with what I saw, Rise of Skywalker. Again, major spoilers here, okay, major spoilers. It's at this point, if you have not seen The Rise of Skywalker, pause this episode, go to the movie theater, and watch it and come back. Take a little, write down the time marker of this program, come back. We're going to have a fascinating discussion now on Rise of Skywalker.
14 minutes in now.
Yes, okay.
14 minutes.
Rise of Skywalker. I'm sure we're going to talk about The Last Jedi because one cannot view the movie in a vacuum.
Yeah.
And some of the reviewers are saying, they're interpreting J.J. Abrams' work here in light of what had transpired. Okay, so now, okay, here we go. So major spoilers. All right. Long live J.J. Abrams. So I was a big fan of the movie, of the film. Of course, there are going to be some issues with it. The movie starts out very quickly, very fast-paced. I'm willing to say too fast. There is too much going on. However, I did not like many things about The Last Jedi. Now, some of us in the office here have been having conversations like this for a while now.
Yeah.
So, Chris has been a good reminder that, well, the movie Last Jedi is done. It is now canon, right? Okay, so, but I perceive that Rian Johnson ruined some things about the saga.
He took a lot of risks, and a lot of them didn't pay off.
A lot of people liked that he took the risks and
Yeah.
thought they paid off.
Some of them did. Some of them did pay off, but some of them did not.
In my opinion and view, and we'll get into this, J.J. Abrams, you don't like the term I used, but fixed or corrected.
Right, which I don't necessarily think he did.
Right. Okay, so we'll get into that. So the way
Yeah,
I perceived
yeah.
it was things were fixed. There was a course correction, and this was great. So the problem with this was that for some of us, especially those that did not like The Last Jedi, we perceived this more that Abrams was trying to fit 2 movies or 1.5 movies into one. And that's why it was so fast-paced, because there were things that he, at least from our vantage point, felt like he had to correct. So that's my first take. I guess I haven't, spoiled anything majorly yet, but we're
No,
going to
not
get into
really,
it.
yeah.
Okay, so now you guys, okay, so I love the film. One of my Facebook friends said this is a 2-movie trilogy that without you could watch Force Awakens and jump right to Rise of Skywalker because The Last Jedi had so much
Oh, I don't know about that.
wasn't necessary to the saga. All right, at any rate, I'll give it over to you guys to talk a little bit more. I'd like, Chris, I know where your thoughts are on it a little bit. Mark, I don't know all that much, so I'll let you guys go ahead and start chatting, and I'm sure we'll find some place to disagree.
I am still in shock about the whole decades thing right now. I mean, that's like saying 1990 is in the 1980s now. That doesn't make sense. All right, anyway, that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, so...
Rise of
those
Skywalker.
For those listening, there have been a lot of debate between us in the office about Last Jedi, which I still personally like, and Kurt does not. But I think that, for Rise of Skywalker, I agree. I did think it started way too fast, and it just jumps right into it. It almost, a lot of the movie almost makes it seem like they didn't acknowledge hardly anything at all in The Last Jedi.
For good reason.
I'm not saying.
Both those statements are wrong.
Okay, I'm not saying there are things that everything in The Last Jedi were like. The whole casino thing in The Last Jedi was pretty much obsolete.
Yeah.
The Benicio del Toro character as that computer hacker guy did not work, and spoiler, he's not even in this movie. Which is all the more reason for it. But the entire, and we're also overlooking the fact that they had to totally go and rearrange things based off of the tragic circumstance that Carrie Fisher died.
Right, yeah.
And apparently they had recorded that footage.
Yeah.
So it's not all
Yeah.
CG.
Yeah, there was some of that was pre-recorded, because she died really soon right after she had done her recordings for
Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And
So was that footage? So here's just sort of a curious question. Was that footage planned to have gone into The Last Jedi, and then they sort of made some changes?
I believe so. I mean, there was definitely some... Because I remember reading somewhere they didn't want to do the whole CGI thing entirely. There's one minor thing of that with her and Luke towards the end that they have that as.
They did that really, really well.
Yes,
Well,
they
yeah,
did.
they
Yes.
normally
Well,
do
deep
as
fake
well.
technology has improved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, with the lighting they had in that scene, they could
Yeah.
pull it off flawlessly.
Yeah.
It was
I mean,
really
even compared to 2 years ago, where they first...
where they did Rogue One, Leia.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah.
was that 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Well, yeah, no, that came out.
Yeah.
No, that
3
came
years.
out
3.
after.
Force Awakens.
Well, yeah, after Force Awakens.
So
It
3
came
years
out
ago.
right around Last Jedi time too, I think, because
Well, they spaced them out a year, right?
give or take.
Yeah, with the exception of this last one, I think.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah, so they did a great job on that.
yeah, and I think also that there were some things that they took from Last Jedi that did still work, like the whole you can between Kylo Ren and Rey, they can like basically do this transferring of objects through the Force type thing, which I was like, okay, it's kind of weird, but at least they kind of brought that going, because there's definitely more stuff that the Force is able to do now that we never saw in the past.
So they teased some of that, correct me if I'm wrong, in Last Jedi.
They did. They did. Too.
Yeah,
That
they-
objects could be... I
Yeah.
don't recall that in Force Awakens.
No, they didn't have that with.
No, they didn't have that
to my
connection. Well,
knowledge,
let's see.
no.
Well, even if they had the connection, it wasn't at least demonstrated that material objects could transfer.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was something.
Yeah.
new.
Okay, but continue.
Yeah. As far as how I felt about the movie, and I've been getting texts, especially from my siblings who we're seeing it again tomorrow. They they basically are like makes it feel like The Last Jedi wasn't they're basically on your page, so now I have more defense I gotta come up with. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't like Rise of Skywalker, but there was just points where it just I equate it to basically being like you're on a really, really bad road, but you reach a really great destination.
Hey,
I think
Yeah, that's probably compatible with your take, Chris.
it might be.
yeah, and there were even some characters, like minor characters, that everyone was complaining a lot about character development and stuff like that. I forgot the general's name, but he's played by that Donham Gleason. He was in all 3 of them. He was one of the generals he was the guy in The Last Jedi who was like, I think you got him, sir, or whatever. If you look him up, he basically in this movie, again, spoilers, turns out to be the traitor, quote unquote.
General
Hux.
General
Yeah,
Hux.
General
Yeah,
Hux,
Hux.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you would think all that and stuff, and then he basically dies like that.
Yeah.
He dies like that.
He does.
And you're like, okay, well, and what was his reasoning? It was kind of just because...
It's not because he liked the good side.
No, he was indifferent. He tells that right to Finn. He's like, I don't care about anything. I just don't like Kylo Ren.
Right.
Yeah. And we could tell that a lot in The Last Jedi, but then he gets killed right off the bat, so it's like, okay. It was almost
There are a
like
lot of fast-moving pieces, parts,
Mm-hmm.
scenes in this film.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Right off of the bat, in the opening crawl, you read that Emperor Palpatine's...
The dead speak.
Yeah, the
when
dead
I saw
speak.
that, I was just like, okay.
I s-
We already knew that. I mean, everyone knows that if they saw the trailer. When I first saw that, I was really worried, because I was like, that seems like a really, they're really going to bring him back?
So that's something you would expect, while you hear it in the trailer, you expect that to develop over the course of the movie.
Yeah.
And it just happens right away,
Yeah.
early on in the film. Almost like what Endgame did with killing Thanos in the first 15 minutes.
True.
Yep. There's some comments that I. Will
Is that
have-
right?
I will have there. Yeah.
Would you like to make those comments?
Yes, and other people who I will cite hopefully during this interview.
Chris has like 10 articles up. He's
I
ready to...
have one article up that was like, these are the words, and I posted it on Facebook for those. Oh, I got to switch over to my thing, don't I? Okay. A lot of this film was a copy paste of Endgame.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. With the begin, like
So I'm surprised I just made that connection, and there's been others that have as well.
So the beginning, I did not think about the beginning, but there you go. That's Endgame. The third act is rife with the Avengers Endgame.
Man, now I got to think about
You've
it.
got everyone's like,
Especially
oh
the
my
lighting,
gosh, we're gonna
too.
lose. I mean,
Yeah.
Lando might as well have just said on your left.
Oh, you know what? Okay, so while I was watching the film, I had the same thought. I was like, oh, Where's the Portals music? That
Yeah.
was the first thought
Yeah.
that came to my mind.
Yeah. And then when Palpatine's like, I am all of the Sith, and Rey's like, and I am all the Jedi. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? So,
Yeah.
for better or for worse, it was essentially Disney going, well, that worked, so let's copy-paste it into our Star Wars franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
That's my thought on the
And
Avengers
even the
connection,
lighting
anyway.
was like that too. If you look at it, the lighting looked exactly
It's
the
very
same,
similar,
dark and stuff
Yep.
like that.
All right. Other things to talk about. The retconning of Ryan Johnson's work.
There was no retconning of Rian
Oh,
Johnson's
here we
work.
go. All right.
Can
So,
you define retconning?
okay, retconning is when someone sort of reinterprets a past movie or book or whatever, right? That's the gist of a retcon. That's a shortened version for.
Oh, I can't remember.
We'd have to look it up.
Retroactively
Okay.
something.
Let's see here. At any rate, I saw Rise of Skywalker retconning the work of Ryan Johnson. Yeah, here. A piece. I guess it's not a shortened version.
Oh, okay. Just called-
Retcon.
I-
A piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events, typically used to facilitate a dramatic plot shift on account for an inconsistency. I absolutely think what Abrams did was a retcon of Johnson's
I
work.
think so. I was going down in my mind of all the things everyone hated about Last Jedi and seeing Abrams tick the box and validating all of them as they kept moving forward.
Okay,
in the
so
plot.
you have to validate the existence of things,
Yeah.
but the direction in which things went. I mean, Luke Skywalker, again, spoilers.
Yep.
Luke Skywalker says, I was wrong.
Right, which he says at the end of The Last Jedi, essentially.
Yeah.
He doesn't essentially.
He does. He has a conversation with Yoda, and then he connects himself
Yeah.
to the Force and saves everyone with the biggest Jedi mind trick in the history of the saga.
Including anything in this movie.
So that's the position he's in at the
Biggest
end of The Last
mind
Jedi.
trick. I'd have to
Yeah,
think
it's
about
pretty true.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so, but what you get, the impression you get from Luke's handling of the lightsaber.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah, that's him realizing his mistake. Not Ryan's mistake, but Luke's character arc continues. It's consistent with how he grew in The Last Jedi.
can I say something very quick? Just very quick.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of bad mouthing, especially Star Wars fans, of Ryan Johnson. He is a really good filmmaker. Okay? I just wanted to put that
Yeah.
out there. I think he gets too much. I don't want when he dies there to be on the obituary like Ryan Johnson, man responsible for ruining Star Wars, dies. No, he's a good filmmaker. If you see Knives Out, that movie's really good.
So,
So I just wanted to throw that out there.
yes, okay, well, what does it mean to be good? I mean, what values are important? You could be good at the craft of making film and whatnot, but
So we're
Yeah.
saying that Michael Bay's a good filmmaker now?
not necessarily.
Okay.
Because
thought
we
so.
need to consider a variety of factors. Okay, on the Luke front, you're saying it's consistent.
I'm saying it's consistent with how his arc ended in The Last Jedi, yes.
When you watch the when you watch the interviews with Mark Hamill,
Oh, now we're talking about the meta, not the story.
right? Okay, so the way Mark Hamill views
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker,
Sure.
he basically says the character is ruined. I mean, he speaks so negatively and
Yeah,
disappointedly.
I agree he does say that.
I'm with Mark Hamill on this one. And then his tune changed like a week before, you know, because he had to say good things for people to go see the
I'm
movie.
sure, yeah. I'm
Or
sure
he
that...
did,
I'm,
did he read the whole script though? I mean, did he read the whole? I mean, I'm sure he read Last Jedi, but did he know what was going to happen after that?
Was the script even written? The script may have not
Or
have been
maybe
written.
not.
No
I'm
idea.
not sure. I never saw what Lucas ever thought. I don't think. I'm sure we can find out.
I think
about
Lucas
it
said he had
tonight.
been disappointed with.
Mark Hamill has said he was...
I think George Lucas came out.
Lucas. I
Yeah.
said Luke,
Yeah.
sorry.
So, no, I think George Lucas came out saying he was disappointed in what's happened with Last Jedi. I don't know.
Sure, but that the discussion is not is Last Jedi bad. It's did
Understood.
Return-
Chris
yeah,
is coming
yeah.
from a perspective here of, well, this is now canon, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not as bad as you think it was.
I think it has a lot of problems, but
Yeah.
whether or not Abrams deleted all of the things that everyone hated is what I'm saying he did not do. He
Yeah.
said this is the path we're on, and he acknowledged most of that in the movie and said, "Here we are. This
Yep.
is true."
All right, we've got to take a short break here. When we come back from our break, we're going to play a round of What's Behind Kurt. And also, we will continue our discussion talking about the Rise of Skywalker. So, more spoilers coming. And if you don't want to hear more, because we're going to talk more plot points for sure, then pause this and come back to the episode after you go to the movie theaters. All right, stick with us through a short break from our sponsors.
You're listening to Veracity Hill, striving for truth on faith, politics, and society.
Evangelical Christians are talking about hell. What if we believe what we believe because we've always believed it? What if the gospel is really a matter of life and death? We want you to open your mind, open your Bible, and rethink hell. At rethinkinghell.com, evangelicals look at what the Bible says about hell, putting conventional and controversial views to the test.
Let's say there's this Christian apologist. You love their message, but have trouble finding their videos, their articles, or social media posts. How do you stay connected to them? We're on it. Defenders Media uses the tools of the digital age to create content for your favorite apologists. We give them more screen time, more digital soapboxes, and more presence to deliver more of the content that you love. That's what we do.
I know that social media is important to those of you who follow my work. Many respond to my videos and posts on Facebook and Twitter, but it becomes impossible after a while to keep up with it all and to continue with research. That's why I'm thrilled that we have found a solution, Defenders Media.
Whether it's a website, whether it's printed material, whether it's a question on graphics, I cannot do what I do and reach my audience without the help of Defenders Media. They have been integral in helping me to reach my audience.
Defenders Media ensures consistent content reaches your hand from today's leading apologists and apologetic ministries, like Mike Lycona, Apologetics 315, the Veracity Hill Podcast with Kurt Jaros, and more.
To learn more, text the word Defenders to 555-888, and we'll send you a free PDF of the top 5 ways to share the gospel online. Thanks for sticking with us through that short break from our sponsors. If you'd like to learn how you can become a sponsor, you can go to our website, veracityhill.com, click on the sponsor tab. You can learn more, 3 different options. We'd love to get your support for your business, your organization, your book, your ministry. We'd love to help promote you, and would love to get your support for our program on a monthly basis. Our sponsors mean a lot to us, helping us get off the ground and to continue going and growing. Speaking of which, if you like our program, please consider becoming a patron. Folks that just chip in a few bucks each month, 5, 10, 20, or more, to help this program go and grow. All right, well, on today's episode, in the first half of the program, I've sort of gave an update on, I did give an update on Defenders Media and Veracity Hill, and we've now devoted the rest of the program to talking about spoilers of Rise of Skywalker. So it's going to be a lot talked about over this holiday season. And so with that, we've got a few notes here, things we want to touch upon. Chris, you believed that before we continue on, though, what's behind Kurt?
What's behind Kurt?
Lest I forget. We don't have a formal guest today, so I'm not in the rhythm.
What's behind Kurt?
Yes, there it is. Okay, thank you. All right, so the name of the game, What's Behind Kurt? I've got 15 questions to guess what's behind me.
15 questions.
Yep, all right. Today's submission came from
one of our own in the office, Mr. Jake, who handles a good deal of work for us. We're thankful to have him on board.
Yep. All right, so
I now have the thing that is behind Kurt.
Okay.
You have 15 questions.
15 questions. All right, we can take our time, too, because we don't have a guest that's,
That's true.
Chilling.
Yep, just chilling.
All right. Is it a person?
Yes.
Great. That way I don't have to ask if it's a place or a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Person. Historical. Is it a real person and not a fictional person? So it's a real,
Yes, it's a real person.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure we've got clear communication when I say real. I don't mean like real in the imagination of someone. Okay. All right,
No,
real person.
I got you. Yeah.
All right.
No tricks.
Did this person live in the 20th century?
The 20th century. Did this person live in the 20th century? Did this person live in the 20th century?
1900s.
Yes.
Boy, you had to think a lot about that. And
I had to think, because we were talking about dates. It threw me off right at the beginning.
my guess is, okay, so it's probably a young person if you had to think about that. Okay, is it a male?
Yes.
Oh, man, I thought you were going to say no there the way you said that. Okay, you do too, Mark? Yeah.
No, he took too long. I was like,
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a male person, all right, real.
Real. Yeah.
Does this person live in the United States?
Does this person live in the United States?
yes.
Mark says yes. Maybe Mark knows this person.
Oh, I know the person. I'm just saying, yes. In retrospect, yes.
In retrospect.
Assuming I know what that word means.
I guess I'll say yes with qualifications.
Okay. Is this person an actor?
No.
All right. Is this... all right, I see. I should have asked a broader question. Is this person in the entertainment industry?
No.
Clarifying question.
Yeah.
Chris, for you, politics is entertaining.
Yes, politics is entertaining for me, but in terms of what normal people would classify as entertainment,
Fair.
This person is not known for being in the entertainment industry.
Right, okay. Is this person a politician?
No.
That was, I think, what he was going for.
Now, I do consider sports part of the entertainment industry.
Correct.
Formally. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
I would too.
Some people, for whatever reason,
Upon
they think
answering your
entertain's only like movies,
Plays,
books.
vaudeville,
Yeah. No,
opera.
sports is entertainment.
Sports is entertainment.
Yeah. Okay. Not entertainment, not politics.
Jake thought you would not be able to. Background for everybody.
Yes.
Jake was almost certain you would not get this.
That's right. He was willing to bet me
Just
money
staying behind.
as
He was
well.
willing, yeah.
and I did
So,
not
this is a
take
difficult
that
one.
bet.
This is difficult.
Okay. Is this person a public figure? So, like, are there news articles written about them?
This person is a public figure.
Not politics, not entertainment industry, but a public figure.
A public figure, yes. Based on the qualifications that you described.
Oh my goodness.
How many are we?
We are at 9. He's done 9 questions. So we're almost 2/3 done.
6 left.
Man, I think Jake's going to win this one.
Nice.
All right.
I forgot all about this until Jake brought it up. So
Oh,
it's
clarified.
well, no, it's I'm agreeing with you that it will be difficult. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I need to, like, do I know this person personally?
No.
Yeah, darn, that was a waste of a question.
5 left. Final 5. Dun, 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 dun.
This is a hard one. See, I have to think, especially, maybe I'm overthinking because I know who presented the question.
Right.
So now I'm trying to think, like,
Right.
who would he have picked? A public figure, not political person,
Not
not,
political.
in the entertainment industry. So that gets rid of film, music, books.
Yep, sure does.
Well,
Well, maybe not some books that
It's
are.
not some books. It's some books.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Is it a pastor of a church?
No.
Is it an entrepreneur? A businessman, more broadly speaking. You know, like
No.
Elon Musk.
They're not known for being an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I would go with no.
Oh, but so maybe they're a little bit involved. with-
Maybe I can't confirm or deny without looking at more information.
Okay.
There's one question he's missing to ask.
Well, there's many. But
Well, yeah.
well, we'll see. We'll see. 3 left. We got on the final 3.
Wow. This is going to be a silly question. Does this... Well, see, that's like... Could fall under entertainment, and I'm not sure if it does.
You'll never know until you...
Does this person have a reality show?
No.
And that I think technically would count as
Would it?
entertainment.
Oh, that's true.
It would
Yeah, see,
count as entertainment.
yeah.
Well,
you gotta-
Well,
That's why it's...
maybe not to some of us. It wouldn't count as entertainment, but
Okay, I don't think I'm going to get this one.
Two left.
Yeah. Is it Mark Lester? Is it Chris Yiesla?
No, those are your questions?
Those are 2 questions.
You already asked.
I'm giving up
giving
here. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to get
Okay,
it.
he's gonna
Because I'm nowhere close right now.
Okay, and this is Jake to a T.
Okay.
And I'm
The
gonna
person behind you, Kurt, is American sniper Chris Kyle.
Yeah, that guy had the sniper movie.
Christopher Scott Kyle was a United States Navy SEAL sniper. He served 4 tours in the Iraq War and was awarded several commendations for acts of heroism and meritorious service in combat. He died February 2nd, 2013. Thank you, Chris Kyle.
Yep.
And he's the basis of the movie American
Didn't he
Sniper,
write the book? I thought he
starring
wrote the
Bradley
book.
Cooper.
Yeah, starring Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought he
Okay,
wrote
good
the
one.
book. That's why
A very good pick,
Very
Jake.
good.
Definitely stumped on that one. I mean, I knew the name, but yeah, it would have, and I wasn't anywhere close. That was the problem. I should have known better.
Yeah, you had to think Jake. Jake was your big clue to that.
All right, back to our discussion on Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
Chris, you wanted to talk plot points.
Yeah.
And maybe their progression, or maybe what Mark talked a little bit about the road. The road getting somewhere was rocky. Or,
Yeah.
And the trilogy too. Aspect.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yep.
Yeah, so I think I would partially agree with your overarching statement that you said last night on Facebook, this morning, and in the show of All Hail or
Long live Abrams.
I don't think I'm willing to make him a monarch yet of this franchise, but I do have to applaud his efforts on this film. I think he, especially given the style that Abrams has locked himself into, with its good sides and bad sides, I think he, in his style, with the material he had, which had been crafted by himself, Johnson, and Disney, he ended the franchise the best way he knew how. And that was like, okay, I was expecting less than I got, so I was surprisingly pleased with how things ended up. Doesn't mean that they ended up super well. It just means I'm pleased with how they ended up. And he did, like I said earlier in the first half of the show, he did a lot of course correction without denying the things that had taken place in Last Jedi. In fact, he affirmed most of them. A lot of the details that people are like, well, that was a stupid detail. He said, well, this is the way things are. Certain locations that had occurred, events that had happened in Last Jedi, he rode on that piggyback and just kept going. Even if it was sloppily done, he kept going through it. And this is the last really positive thing I have to say. As far as closing out the 40-year saga of the Skywalker saga, the 9-film series, it's a believable and mildly satisfying idea. This idea, this again, let me put that spoiler warning. Oh, I can't have it on my screen. The spoilers. The idea of having all of the Sith, and there's a rich history, come up behind the spirit of Palpatine, and all of the Jedi come up behind the spirit of Rey, and having them duke it out, is a satisfying idea for this long saga of bringing balance to the Force, which is really what the name Skywalker means. Not like literally, but it's what it's come to mean. Is the Skywalker is one who brings balance to the Force, which is what Rey ends up doing with the help of Ben Skywalker.
Yep.
So those are the good things. But Abrams had this really weird thing that he did where like things just moved. He's got to learn how to slow down. He moved really, really fast throughout the entire movie, especially in Act 1. And he had this weird tendency to present ideas story-wise that I really liked. I'm like, wow, that's actually a pretty good idea. And then proceeded to take the quickest and most convoluted, unexplained route to that idea as the film progressed. So the idea that he would present initially like, hey, this is the way things are, or a character would say something, I go, oh, okay, I can get on board with that idea. And then as they went toward it, it became less and less likable with every moment. So that's really, I think, the discrepancy we see between cool ideas or usable ideas and then the path to them was just not well thought out. There are other thoughts I have as an editor for those scenes, but that's my general idea
Yeah.
of story arc
Yep.
and how that progressed.
Mark, you wanted to look at the overall story arc of the trilogy, viewing 7, 8, and 9 as a trilogy.
Yeah, because I mean, it is a 9-part saga, but it's also, you can look at it as 3 separate trilogies. I still think, and I doubt a lot of people are going to argue with me on this, the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6, more than likely the best, consistent film trilogy there is. And I think what makes that such a great trilogy is that not only is it just a great story combined, but you can also watch all 3 movies with a constant flow as their own self. They're their own separate movies that work as their own, and it's still constant flow throughout. I think the constant flow lacks in this 3 trilogy. Now, part of that, of course, is because, The Last Jedi and stuff like that. But I would also argue that what they did was they went a different way with Last Jedi, of course, but then with this one, they're kind of like, nah, we're just going to backtrack a little and just go this way. I think that only with taking, like we said, a few of the separate things, a few things from The Last Jedi. I also think, we haven't talked about, this is kind of off subject, but we haven't talked about, the, again, spoilers, but if you've seen this, towards the end, there's one, well, there are actually 2 kisses, but there's one kiss, and it is between Kylo Ren and...
Oh, it's not between Kylo Ren.
Not Kylo Ren. Good call. Good call.
Yeah.
It's between Ben. It's between Ben and Rey. Good call, sir. My bad. It's between Ben and Rey, and it's right before Ben dies, because there's a lot of forced sacrificing.
Yeah.
Because people... Oh, yeah, it is. That's what it is. They use so much force that they die. And that happened with Luke. It happens with Leia. And then it happens with Ben.
Yep.
And so, basically, that ends up happening, the kiss. And I don't know if it's necessarily like a quote-unquote complete romantic kiss or anything. Maybe it was just spur of the moment, I don't know. And then, of course, we can get into the whole, other kiss that just is randomly in there.
Virtue signaling.
Yes, a virtue signaling right at the end when it's all that night. It's that good, reunion type thing, kind of like at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And then just these random pilots or whatever, female pilots who just share a kiss. And what makes me mad about that is just that has nothing to do with the story at all. We were talking basically about that with Endgame when they had all the women lined up in that end battle. I mean, yeah, it looked cool and stuff, but that had nothing really to do with the story at all. I mean, that's just like them saying, by the way, we support this, just so you know. I mean, that's
it. That's virtue signaling.
Right, and it wasn't enough that they had done it in the previous film, in Infinity War. They had that exact same moment in Wakanda.
Yeah.
During one of the battles.
They did.
I'd have to go back and think.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They did. I don't think it was as...
It wasn't as dramatic.
Yeah,
they
it
had
wasn't
twice
as
as many
dramatic,
women.
no.
in it.
Yeah.
was,
Oh, yeah.
They were
So,
doing, 3 of
I
them
do want to
together.
say on that, there are going to be a lot of Christians that are going to be upset about this. Now, it happens
The kiss.
the female kiss. It happens very quickly. One of the things I like to keep in mind is the Star Wars galaxy, the people making Star Wars, this film does not come from a Christian perspective, an exclusively Christian perspective. We should not be upset about what we see the Romans doing, when I speak figuratively here. So when you can expect the Romans to do what the Romans do, it shouldn't be as surprising to you. It shouldn't be unexpected. So it does happen quickly, but I'm not going to get up in arms about this. This is something you could see out on the street when you're going for a nice stroll today. And as I would say, unfortunately, that's just what our society thinks is okay. So I do want to say that I am pleased. However, during the course of 7 and 8, there was discussion, especially after 7 came out. People wanted there to be a gay relationship between Poe and Finn. I don't know if you remember this.
I kind of remember it.
There were some
thought it
articles that
died.
came out. People were wishing that would be the case because, you know...
Poe was supposed to die originally.
That's right, in the earlier
episode
script.
7.
Oh.
Yeah, in the
Thankfully
early...
he didn't. 'Cause
Right.
Oscar Isaac does.
So at any rate, there were numerous articles by progressives that came out saying that they hoped, because there was nothing alluded to. So I am very glad that in this film, it was quite clear that Poe has normal God-designed teleological
You learn a
attraction
little more
for
about
a
Poe in
female.
this one.
That's
you
right.
learn a little bit more about Poe's background.
Yep,
in this
yep.
one.
So I'm glad about
Though
that.
it's very unclear in the film which female specifically he has attractions for.
Um,
Because over the course of all 3 movies, he's attracted to different women.
is that right?
Are we talking about Poe or Finn?
Poe.
Oh, sorry,
not
Poe.
Finn.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're thinking Finn.
Sorry, I'm thinking Finn. My bad.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I retract my
Finn's
statement.
love interests change. Yeah.
Change, yeah.
So like the alleged, which to
Poe,
me
yeah,
it just
Poe.
felt for Finn in Last Jedi, it felt so forced with Rose.
Yeah.
Like that was very forced.
That was one of the things that failed miserably.
Pun intended, forced. Get it?
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
And so then this one it sort of changes. His relationship is more business, like with her, with Rose.
Rose is barely in the film.
That's
But
right.
Yeah, it's
There's a
weird.
lot of people who thought, I know one of my friends thought she was like annoying. I'm like, she's not annoying. I mean, she can be, but I mean, she's not like, you know.
Her character was certainly more mature.
She's
It's
in
true.
this one.
Very focused.
Yep.
Yep.
yeah.
All right, I do want. I've got a few things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Major spoiler. Major spoiler. Okay, you got the spoiler. You've got a
That
spoiler.
spoiler
alert.
tag up there. yeah.
Okay.
Because we've said it enough.
Rey is a Palpatine.
Sure is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who saw that one coming?
I admit
not
that
me.
one. I admit that one did get to me too. I mean, but there's also obviously a lot of questions like, who on earth was Palpatine dating in the
I take it was
prequels?
before he became the Emperor.
Right, because he's old enough
Yeah.
in episode. I was thinking about this yesterday. In episode 1, that all of that could have already happened.
He could have already had a
And
family.
it's just because Palpatine is notorious for having plans decades in advance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So like when he was a young, probably while he was still under his master, he was like, "All right, I'm going to propagate. We're going to have this backup plan for
Yep.
my backup plan for my backup plan."
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, as Palpatine does.
Or it could be one of those weird things too. With I don't want to get too into it, and I'm sure some Star Wars people are gonna tell me about it. Like, you know how Anakin came to be, or whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't really know his.
Right, a virgins in the Force.
Yeah, something like that. That could have been an issue, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'm happy with the way they worked that into the plot. I thought they did that well. It was no shock. It was slow. It was like, hey, Ray recognized that droid. You know, it's, hey, wait a second. This ship was the one that left Jakku. You know, so I thought they worked that in well.
Yeah. I think another thing to bring up too, there was one moment that, at least when I saw it, because we saw it separately, but in my theater, when I saw it, the big applause moment actually came towards the end with Chewbacca, when, I forgot her name, I forgot her name, but it's Lupita Nyong'o who voices her.
Maz?
Yeah, something like that. She gives Chewie that medal or that ribbon or whatever.
Yeah.
That got a lot of applause. Now to re-looking that, and then you remembered, like, in the end of A New Hope, Chewie never got a medal when Han and Luke did. And you're like, oh, Chewie's just like, oh, I'm just happy to be there.
I thought it was like Leia's, and he had gotten Leia's.
It was Leia.
It could be that. I could be wrong. I'm gonna have to rewatch. I just know that was
I thought Chewie got a medal.
in that one. No.
In End of New
Hope?
New
No,
Hope.
he was there.
No, yeah,
just
he was there.
roared a whole lot.
Yeah.
They give it to Han, he winks, and then then to Luke, but never to Chewie.
Chris, you had mentioned a sort of a fascinating idea here.
Okay.
If you were the editor,
Right.
what fixes would you perform to improve it? Not necessarily to correct it, right? But
Right,
or maybe to
improve
correct it.
To improve it. Yeah, this is something I started doing with the prequels when I was watching them. I was like, okay, if I just had, like, as an editor, I can't do it as well with this movie, but as an editor, if I just cut footage and not put in any new footage, could I fix these prequels and make them a little bit better? So I started thinking about what would I do as an editor. So there's a couple things I would need to add new footage for this one to fix it. And I have two things that I could fix. First of all, Abrams' overall style was that of just go the entire time.
You feel like you're running a marathon.
You do. And with editing, there's an art to ebb and flow.
Yeah.
You have to have quiet moments to let films breathe. And you see that a ton in the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, yeah.
There's no music playing. They're just sitting having a conversation about the Force and whether or not it's real or not.
Last Jedi had some too.
Last Jedi had some of it. So, but Williams' score, which is amazing, was just on from minute 1 and didn't stop playing for most of the film. And I just felt like I needed a break. Like, we have to let things breathe. And there was almost a little bit in scene 1. So I think I would correct some of his scenes to just let that hero have that moment for a bit. Make the movie 5 minutes longer, so they can breathe. And then I think at the very beginning, you could have established some of that credit with your audience by letting us hear. So we have 3 major things in Act 1 that happen. At the very beginning of the film, we see Kylo Ren going on a journey, which is important to see. We see Rey going on a spiritual journey of sorts at the beginning, which is important to see.
As well as the training.
That's a spiritual journey, really.
Training, yeah.
And then we see an actual, physical mission going on with Poe and Finn and company. All 3 of these felt incredibly rushed. So as an editor, what I would probably do is completely cut out Finn and Poe's journey, because it had a lot of stuff in it that was nonsensical and really hard to follow, and to make a point of they've gotten information from its spy. So you can hear about that and wonder, are they succeeding? Because there are lines of, we haven't heard them come back yet. Are they coming back? We don't need to see them on this journey.
On that point, you do get a reference to something that happens in Last Jedi about hyperspace tracking. So you see them jumping, doing constant jumps, trying to lose the TIE fighters that are tracking them.
Right, but that still is nonsensical because they were just doing random jumps. He wasn't planning them, and still the TIE fighters were able to follow them.
Because in Last Jedi, you've got the tracking equipment.
Right, but that's on a big starship. So that's on Snoke's mothership.
So
and we won't even get into the logistics of why the TIE fighters have hyperspeed anyway, because that is usually not supposed to happen. The TIE fighters are designed to be very light and fast craft.
We should also make sure
and cheap.
Note that hyperspeed is not actually a thing, too,
right.
For that matter.
So if you cut out that and just hear about it, we know they're on this mission, it gives them some street cred because we're not watching their stupid little adventure play out, which doesn't make any sense.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah. And but we're hearing about it. We're hearing they're going to do something important, and we wonder if they're coming back. But it buys you 5 minutes to just let's take that time and pour it into Kylo or Ben's arc and Rey's arc to just let them breathe for a minute, because then we get time to see them slowly going on their arcs, which are both very important. And he sets the tone for, I'm going to let this film breathe when it needs to, and slowly progress through their arcs and let them talk for a bit.
And it would help those times when it would help for the anticipation to build for those faster paced, more adrenaline inducing scenes.
It makes them more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Really. So he needs to learn to slow down. There's a lot of stuff that he expects us to buy right at the very right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Where he says, here are some things that are happening that are high stakes, and I'm just you have to buy it. And before we continue, there's entire Star Destroyer fleet under this planet. Buy that. Oh, also I've equipped all of them with a Death Star weapon, which is unnecessary. You don't have to do that. The fact that the Emperor's coming back is enough of a threat, and that he has a giant fleet.
Yeah.
That's enough. That would destroy a lot of what remains.
With the Star Wars saga, they've always tried to find ways to up the ante.
Yeah.
So, a Death Star. Oh, here's another Death Star.
That's a planet.
Here's another Death Star that's a planet.
That's what they did with Force Awakens, too. It's
right.
you destroy planets.
Star Killer Base.
Just destroying all that.
We can destroy the core worlds, apparently.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, we have run out of time here. Each get concluding remarks. How about that? Mark, we'll start with you.
Well, I just wanted to say very quickly that, I think, the Star Wars trilogy is one of the best trilogies ever made. And I think that, if you look at the films, one thing I did like too at the end, I don't know if you noticed this, but did you guys notice who got top billing for casting?
It was someone that I thought was noteworthy, but it was 2 a.m, so I can't remember who it was.
Okay, so what was interesting was it was Carrie Fisher. And what's interesting about that is I think in the original trilogy it was always Mark Hamill, but Force Awakens, Harrison Ford, Last Jedi, Mark Hamill, now Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, very nice.
So I thought that was very interesting.
Good. Chris, your final thoughts?
I want to conclude by reading an excerpt from an article from the reviewers over at True Myth Media. They're great reviewers. One of my friends and colleagues runs it. And he put it into words. I was trying to figure out how do I feel about this film, and I wanted to read the last couple paragraphs. They're real quick about the film, and it really just encapsulates this.
Yeah.
This will be starting mid-thought. Unfortunately, as Rey and Ren get closer to Palpatine in the climax of the film, much of what is to come becomes extremely predictable. Less moving emotionally and more of an apparent attempt at CG one-upmanship, even by the standards of the prequels. The fingers of the Marvel-bloated Disney are all over the ending of Rise of Skywalker. Specific moments of the film had me flashing back to Avengers Endgame rather than Return of the Jedi. That's a real shame, because on its surface I have no problem with plot points like Emperor Palpatine returning from the dead, Kylo Ren and Rey in a power triangle with the Emperor, or voices from the past speaking hope into a character. But in each of these instances, the scenes in which these things happened are stripped of their emotional import and relegated to a sort of look how clever we were reveal. Frankly, nothing in this movie is so clever that anyone need hang a lantern on it. Unfortunately, J.J. Abrams seems to have taken his best shot with The Force Awakens, with an awareness that the series had suffered a blow under George Lucas's prequels, that Abrams knew he had to overcome by making a film that rang so true to what Star Wars is, that the studio could be sure it was going to be a huge success. With Rise of Skywalker, we have his prequel moment, where he thinks he has everyone's goodwill and can let loose what he can really do with a property, which, as any fan of Star Trek will tell you, is gut a series of its heart and replace it with action sequences that are fun the first time, but mean very little and have no staying power.
I have a different assessment, but, interesting to see other people's takes. Certainly I think we'd all agree it was fun to go back to the universe for another moment.
Anything with John Williams is fine by me.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun, enjoyable to see. Yeah. And I certainly do hope, especially from where I'm coming from, I do hope to see this film as a success. Yeah.
I do. Again, I think it was the best Abrams could have done under the circumstances. I was pleased with in that context.
And that's what certainly other people are saying, too, that for people that are sympathetic to my view or interpretation of Last Jedi, they're saying Abrams had a hand that was dealt to him, and he had to deal with that hand and that situation.
At least he wasn't dealt the hand of cats.
Yes, that's true.
That's a different story.
That's a different story for never on this program. Good. Okay. All right. Well, we've run out of time here. This has been fun conversing with you guys. I look forward to seeing what the new year has, not the new decade, Mark, the new year, 2020, the interviews. We've got some great books that are coming up. We want to bring on those guests in the new year, especially in the first quarter. Very fascinating, good material out there. So with that, I want to say that does it for the program this year. I'm grateful for the continued support of our patrons and the partnerships that we have with our sponsors. They are Defenders Media, Consult Kevin, The Sky Floor, Rethinking Hell, the Illinois Family Institute, and Fox Restoration. I want to thank our technical producer, Chris, for all the fine work that he does today, and for Mark, our communications associate, and to our in-studio guests, Chris and Mark, for contributing to the conversation today. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank you for listening in and for striving for truth on faith, politics, and society.
You've been listening to Veracity Hill, striving for truth on faith, politics, and society. This is a listener-supported program. For more resources, including past shows, visit veracityhill.com.